Change your diet, change your life, change the planet.
People think that I'm a really disciplined person, that I have an enormous amount of willpower. When I'm training for a big race, when I've got a national championship coming up, I will train a minimum of 20 hours a week or more. That's training. 20 hours a week or more. That doesn't include driving to the workout, driving home from the workout, doesn't include showering, doesn't include the eating before and after, doesn't include getting myself mentally psyched up to do the workout, which I'm probably scared to death to do. It's probably 30 hours a week that I spend just on athletic endeavor. 20 plus is going to be the actual training itself. That must take an extraordinary amount of discipline and willpower, right? No, it doesn't take any. I've spent most of my adult life incapable of doing the smallest, simplest things. I don't have any discipline. I don't have any discipline when it comes to my diet, and I don't have any discipline when it comes to my exercise programs. I have tools. And with tools, you don't need the discipline. Because what they're discovering now in psychology and neuroscience is that this thing called willpower is a limited resource. You only have so much. And it's not that you only have so much over your lifetime. You only have so much at any given time or day. If you are going to school or you have a challenging job, that's depleting your willpower. If you are in a relationship that is challenging, that's going to deplete your willpower. If you're driving to work in traffic every day, that's going to deplete your willpower. If you're struggling financially, that's going to deplete your willpower. Then on top of that, if you're trying a new diet, that's going to deplete your willpower. If you're trying a new exercise program, January 1st, get out there, do CrossFit, do Insanity, do P90X, do whatever. That's going to deplete your willpower. You only have so much. And if it's already depleted from other things in your life, and then you take on a dietary change because your life is just horrible and I need to make this change because I'm so overwhelmed and I'm so freaked out and I hate my body and I hate my life, I've got to make a big change. Something's got to give. That's the absolute worst time to do it because you're already depleted. You don't have the willpower to make that dietary change. You don't have the willpower to make that exercise transformation. And it's not about you personally being weak. It's about the way the brain works. And we know this now. They've studied it. They can look at it on an fMRI scan. They can see brain activity. They can see when someone is, as they call it, ego depleted. When you are in a state of ego depletion, you rubber band. You run screaming for comfort and affection. So your life is challenging, and now you're going to try this dietary transformation. You're going to fail, I guarantee you. It's just the way it is. You're human. Raise your hand if you're not human. Who's ever tried to quit smoking? Quit drinking? Quit sugar? Quit dairy? It's not easy. It's pulling you and pulling you. It's like a rubber band. You're trying to, the further you stretch it, the more it pulls. And finally, if you're wobbly because the rest of your life is challenging, boom. That's what we do. We need that comfort because when we go into a state of ego depletion, there's a state in the brain called cognitive dissonance. That's a horrible term. It's hard to say. I want to come up with a new term. I don't like it. Basically, it's an intolerable mental state. It's a feeling up here that is absolutely intolerable. Cognitive dissonance. I know it well. I've lived with it most of my life. It's like when somebody breaks up with you, or maybe you see them walking around with another guy, or another girl, or whatever, or they said they were going to be somewhere and they weren't, and all of a sudden there's this, and you're freaking out, and why won't they call me back? That's cognitive dissonance. Or when you're jonesing for that cigarette. Or you see somebody drinking and you're, trying to get off the alcohol and you're like, it's trying to kill you. That's cognitive dissonance. You can't win that fight. There are ways around it, though. And that's where I'm going with this, because I don't have any discipline. When I've tried to be disciplined, it almost killed me, because I fail big time. And now I know that I can never do that again. I can never fight. I can never push myself to do something that I really don't want to do. Because when that fight is there, when that dissonance is there, it's because you're not acknowledging what you really desire. What you really desire is affection and connection. Those are the two most important things to a human being. And we get so little of it. And the more that we're, computerized and Facebookized, the less we get. We want affection. We want connection. So we go for the food. So we go for the drugs. So we go for the cigarettes. So we go for whatever our addiction is. It's a replacement for this affection and connection. It calms us. So this is why diets fail. Cognitive dissonance causes inflammation of you, not your body, but of you. And when your emotions, when your intellect, when your mind becomes inflamed, you also become less flexible. You become more rigid. Blood that would normally go to your prefrontal cortex, which is your rational brain, is sent instead to your hindbrain, which is much more reactive and primitive. Which is why we make really bad decisions, even though we don't want to. This part of us is saying, no, that's a bad idea. And this part is saying, I don't care. This part always wins, by the way. It's much stronger. And it actually controls to a large degree what this part is doing. Even though this part thinks it's in charge, it's not. It's just allowed to believe that it's in charge. So we have these inflexible minds because we're all under stress. And by the way, stress is a mental illness. It's just a socially acceptable mental illness. But you're Americans, so therefore you are all mentally ill because you all have stress.